All right, Steve here. It is Monday, March 2nd, and the markets are already moving. If you've ever looked at those charts zipping up and down and wondered what in the world is driving all that, well, you're going to want to stick around. Today, we are breaking down the biggest, most powerful market on the entire planet, Forex. Let's get right into it.
So let me ask you a quick question. Think about the last time you traveled internationally. You're standing at the airport, you walk up to one of those currency exchange booths, and you swap your US dollars for, I don't know, some euros or Japanese yen. If you've ever done that, guess what? You've already traded Forex.
Yup, you are participating in the foreign exchange market, or as we call it, Forex. Now, you were probably just doing it so you could buy a coffee in Paris, but the underlying principle is exactly the same. The only real difference is, in our world, we're not trading currencies to buy stuff. We're doing it to try and profit from the constant shifts in their value.
And the scale of this thing, it's just mind-boggling. Look at this number. That is $6.6 trillion. That's not the market's value. That's the amount of money that changes hands every single day. The amount of cash flowing through this market is practically infinite.
To put that into perspective, it absolutely dwarfs everything else. It makes the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, all of it combined, look like a tiny little lemonade stand on a quiet suburban street. That's the ocean we're talking about swimming in.
So in an ocean this big, what are we actually trading? This is where it gets really fascinating, because you have to forget everything you might know about stocks. We're not betting on companies here. We are trading entire economies in what is basically a global tug-of-war.
And this right here, this really hits the nail on the head. When you buy a stock, like say Apple, you're buying a tiny piece of a company. You're betting on their next product. But in Forex, when you buy a currency, you're essentially buying a share in that country's entire economic future. You're betting on the strength of a whole nation.
And here's the most important part. Currencies are always traded in pairs. You can't just buy the euro by itself. You buy it relative to another currency, like the US dollar. This is the EUR/USD pair. So if you decide to buy this pair, what you're really saying is, I bet the Eurozone economy is going to win the tug of war against the US economy. You're going long on the euro and short on the dollar, all in one simple trade.
Okay, I get it. This all sounds huge, maybe a little intimidating. So you might be thinking, why should I even care about this? And that's a totally fair question. The answer comes down to some really powerful advantages this market offers, especially for someone who's just starting out.
Let's talk about two of the biggest ones. First, accessibility. You do not need thousands of dollars to get in the game. You can start with something called microlots, which lets you learn the ropes while risking literally just a few cents on each move. And second, the hours. This market is a true 24/5 beast. It basically never sleeps.
And here's why that's possible. Because it's a global market, the trading day just rolls from one major financial hub to the next. It starts in Tokyo, hands off to London, which then hands off to New York, and it just keeps going. What's that mean for you? It means freedom. If you work at 9 to 5, you can trade at night. If you're an early riser, you can trade the London Open at 3 a.m. The market works around your life, not the other way around.
And that brings us right to this moment. Why is this so important right now? Because our world is constantly in motion. And in Forex, that motion, that change, is what creates opportunity. Calm seas are nice for a cruise, but traders, we make our money on the waves.
And believe me, we've got waves right now. Think about it. Central banks all over the planet are making huge decisions. They're jacking up interest rates to fight inflation, or they're cutting them to boost growth. Every single one of those policy changes sends massive shockwaves through the currency markets. And for a trader, those waves are where you find your edge.
And that, right there, is my promise to you with this whole series. We are going to start from absolute scratch. There's no ego here, no confusing pro talk designed to make you feel lost. We're just going to dig into the raw mechanics, how to buy, how to sell, and most importantly, how to protect yourself in the world's biggest and most exciting market. This is Steve. I'm glad you're here, and I'll see you at the Open.